A very hello to everyone. I'm Rawat, founder of Govt, and it is my pleasure to moderate and host today's panel for Sheroes with MPL. The Sheroes Network is a content and community ecosystem enabling access to employment, entrepreneurship, and capital for women. With about 25 million women in community, the Sheroes Network is committed to increasing women's contribution to GDP. It is my extreme honor to announce today's panel discussion, which is about tech against trafficking, how technology can play a role in preventing trafficking. And it is my pleasure to announce some of the most eminent personalities in India who have been working selflessly against anti-human trafficking and anti-sex trafficking. Let me introduce the panel for today. We have Ms. Leena Kejriwal. She's the founder of Missing Link Trust. She's an eminent photographer and social artist based out of Kolkata and Mumbai. In 2014, Ms. Kejriwal founded the Missing Project, a campaign held against sex trafficking and slavery to create mass awareness through art and interactive technology. Since 2002, Kejriwal's work deals with human rights, especially women issues. Her approach is research-based and very process-oriented and site-specifically adapted to each event, venue, and public. Let us give a big round of applause and thank you so much, Ms. Leena, to be here. One wave from you, probably, and then we can move on to the introduction of our next panelist, who is Ms. Hasina Kharbhih. A lot of people know her work already as a founder and chairperson of Impulse NGO Network, very famous work already done in the south, in the east of India. She has already spent more than 2 decades in this sector, and she has one of the leading figures in fighting against the human trafficking in India, as well as in South and Southeast Asia. She's also known for introducing the Impulse model, which is also formally called as Meghalaya model, for fighting trafficking in person. I'm so glad you are here as part of the panelists, Ms. Hasina. Very glad to have you here. And honored to call upon Dr. P.M. Nair. He is ex-IPS. He's already retired as former Director General of National Disaster Response Force and Civil Defense in Government of India. Dr. Nair also served as National Human Rights Commission as its nodal officer in anti-human trafficking and as a project coordinator anti-human trafficking with the UN Office on Drugs and Crime in New Delhi. Dr. Nair has also carried out training for more than 11,000 police officers and prosecutors across India and set up 9 anti-human trafficking units, a powerful voice in the anti-human trafficking mission and child rights in the region. He has also continued his mission of empowering vulnerable people by undertaking skill building programs and thereby preventing human trafficking. He's also presently the Tata Chair Professor with TIS and also advisor to Chairperson, National Skill Building Mission. Very warm welcome, Mr. Nair. Dr. Nair, we're honored to have you here. Last but not the least, we save the best for the last. Ms. Namrata Swamy, she's the country manager of Mobile Premier League, the leading mobile service platform, the gaming platform, which is already pretty famous and already being used by 90+ million users. Mobile Premium League is currently oversees the entire India operations, and Ms. Namrata is heading the entire India operations right now in the sports platform. She's responsible for steering initiatives to drive sustainable business growth in the country and work towards the company's vision to become the global hub of e-sport and gaming. Before joining MPL, she served as the associate partner at McKinsey and Company in Bangalore in India. Thanks to MPL, in collaboration with the Missing Link Trust, they have already started spreading the word around hashtag Save Our Missing Girls. That's the campaign that we will be talking about a lot today, and how we are able to use technology now to have awareness building program for anti-human trafficking as well as anti-sex trafficking for today. So moving over to Leena, my first question to you will be that let's talk about the missing link and what exactly you did in that campaign. Missing is an interactive role-playing game, and it takes through the plight of trafficked girls and women and shows the way to prevent it. It's a great idea, but would be great if you can throw more light on it and tell us how has Missing Link Trust used this technology to spread the awareness about prevention of this human trafficking.
Thank you, Iti, for the introduction, and a warm welcome to everybody. And I'm so happy to have you all here, Dr. Nair, Hasina, and Namrata. So just going quickly to your question, Iti. So I'm an artist, and when I set out, when I entered a red light district way back, I would say 2 decades ago, it was a moment which didn't leave me. And I was totally very sensitive to the plight of the girls and the women I saw there. And that became like the foremost topic of all my artwork and or anything which I created. And that from that was born Missing. So when I created Missing, which is the silhouette of a girl set against the sky like a black hole, into which millions of girls disappear from the face of the earth. They were larger than life installations, which I had launched at the India Art Fair, which later on, I'm really happy, took a life of its own and they became a guerrilla art. But what I realized the limitation of me as an artist. So when I started End Demand, because trafficking is demand driven, because where there is a demand, there'll be a supply. So even though you start by preventing your second generation from being trafficked, but still there's a new figure or a new person who's standing there who's got trafficked, and that's only happening because of the demand. So what was the main, I thought the gap which I saw there was that there was no conversation happening with the public on the issue of trafficking. And they were going scot-free from all conversations, totally oblivious to the fact that they were actually the core culprit for the trafficking to happen. So I started this Missing silhouette, and then I realized I couldn't go knock on every door. So for me, the smartphone and the technology became really, really crucial. And so with the first crowdfunding, I said, let me make an app. And it was 2017. I set out to create an AR app, but I ended up making a game for change. I'm really happy with making it. I'm really happy with the developer whom I met, who made it with me. But I took him into red lights. I made him meet survivors. I made him meet people there. And he really got to know the whole, what was the actual issue people were facing there. And all that was then developed and put into the game. So it's very, for me, technology is very powerful because it can be immersive or learning, and which can actually hit home really faster. Absolutely. So for me, technology plays a big role.
Intriguing idea, of course, the usage of technology and specifically game, which so many people are already using in their hands itself to build that awareness. But before we jump into that, what exactly we can do, let's understand from Ms. Hasina. If you can tell us about what do you think that where do our countries stand today in dealing with human trafficking, and what is the biggest fight that a rehabilitate or a survivor is supposed to fight to rehabilitate himself? Are there any government schemes, or what kind of awareness program should be built for helping them survive further?
Thank you for the question. I think what an app day to day, we have the person behind bringing the country to take forward, the issue of human trafficking, Mr. PM Nair. I mean, I'm so happy to be in this platform today. We go a long, long way. I mean, somebody who showed me the way and how the impulse model was born out of the Northeast. So going back, what has our country done? I think the first perspective is the research that was taken forward nationally, that Mr. PM Nair himself was instrument, and we were basically people who journeyed with him to really open up the Pandora box that India is a source, is a transit, and a destination. That research report, of course, needs to be reviewed as we are talking about right now, because it's a long way, a lot of intervention has taken place. Now, coming back to that, I think the Ministry of Home Affairs set up the Anti-Human Trafficking Unit as a way forward, which initially started as having a nodal officer of anti-human trafficking. And then that paved another way that India will respond to human trafficking through the law enforcement. And that is why today we have AHTU, in short, anti-human trafficking unit in the entire country. And that has made it a specialized division that legally, technically, lawfully, applying all the law innovatively, the anti-human trafficking unit is the center and the heart of the intervention that the country, from a policy level as an intervention level has taken place. But if we look at, since then and now, what we have realized that different ministry has initiated different intervention in the call towards responding to human trafficking, because India is a signatory to many protocols, and taking that into perspective, I would want to say that it's time that ministry has a convergence in terms of supporting the resources, the non-overlapping, and ensuring a single window, so that would help organization like us, organization like Leena is running, and many more out there, to be able to have a centralized core of intervention, because that is where we face the whole challenge as of now. And then the second question that you put up to me is that rehabilitation, that is, after rescue, rehabilitation is an integral part of addressing human trafficking. We have laws, we have various schemes, we have shelter home run by NGO, notified by the government as per the law for below 18, above 18. But the fact remains, the resources is still a challenge. The shelter home availability is still a challenge. We have government running these shelter homes as well, but we really have to look in time of what it is today. You cannot have a rehabilitation, which is an age-old intervention. You cannot teach people in a rehabilitation center stitching and making candles any longer. So when I use the word, a very simple word like making candle and doing embroidery, and expecting them to have marketable skill when you come out. So rehabilitation has to be relooked. The policy has to intervene at this moment and look at good practices and good innovation that can pave a way for a national replication.
I completely believe that it is not just the government's role, as you rightly pointed out. There has to be some private sector also that needs to be involved in this mission to move things ahead. And that brings me to our next speaker, Ms. Namrata Swamy. You have done some phenomenal work in starting this campaign of Save Our Missing Girls. It was quite a trendsetter, and I would like your viewpoint to understand that how a business house like yours, a technology corporate like yours, came to think about working on such a grave societal issue, and how you can, or other corporates can, learn from you to work on these kind of issues ahead.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Iti, for the opportunity to be on this one. Hi, everyone else. I think on this topic, of course, I think the work Leena and her team have done in building that game has been humongous, right? I think it's a great eye opener for everyone else around. So I think when we got the opportunity to partner with them and ensure this can sort of get distributed to the wider nook and corner of the country, we thought it was a great opportunity. We as a platform have access to about 90 million plus users. And gaming is a very, very interactive form of entertainment, which everybody likes to be a part of. And for us, this opportunity of having Missing on the platform really meant we could ensure, if not all of the 90 million users, but to a great subset of this 90 million users, this message around trafficking, what victims experience, and getting to live that experience through that immersive role-playing game, that was definitely going to be a game changer. And at the heart of all of it, I think it was just that notion of saying awareness is equal to prevention. Because till we create that sense of awareness, till we make sure everybody each of us, everyone around us really understands what we are talking about, we are not going to be able to take the next step to say, how do we prevent, how do we rehabilitate, how do we bring them back into the mainstream, right? So I think our effort initiative was just to take that first step. We have a large ecosystem that's connected. We have a bunch of users. We have a lot of game developers, designers, everybody that's part of this ecosystem. So being at that heart of ecosystem puts in a lot of responsibility for any business, any startup, right? It's important to realize what can be done with that. The kind of access that we have across the board to all of the users, just having that right message sent across can be very, very powerful. So that was number one in terms of saying, we being where we are with the kind of access we have and the reach that we have to the users, how can we take that first step to build awareness? And I think second, just the point around technology, right? In a country that's seeing smartphone penetration grow every day, with 400 million plus smartphone users across the country, that is the medium that can enable us to spread this message, information fastest and ensure everybody hears it. So I think using technology and any sort of media that this group uses, right? Be it social media, be it gaming, be it and other forms of entertainment. I think those are key channels that are probably not tapped enough to talk about these issues today. And I think as part of MPL, we've done a lot of research to understand technology usage, mobile phone usage habits, but pretty much every smartphone user in the country spends north of 45 minutes a day on their cell phones. So if we are able to ensure all of these messages are made available there, I think that's just a great beginning to ensure information spreading across.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you have opted for this. Your company has thought about it. And needless to say, at the head of it, somebody who has worked on the ground from the government is Dr. PM Nair. Dr. I've been a great fan. I have been following your work that you have done. It's a tremendous amount of work that you have done for anti-human trafficking, gone on the grounds and rescued people and found them and rehabilitated them. Just wanted your perspective on the biggest challenges, in your opinion, that a government would be facing to eradicate human trafficking from the earth itself.
Thank you. Delighted to be this distinguished audience, especially eminent persons who have been committed to the cause and doing a great job, Leena and Hasina and all colleagues. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the kind words. Now, when you come to the issue of the government level, first and foremost is the whole question of data itself. Today, in the beginning, you spoke about the data available there. Is the data correct? The data is not. Now, just cite an example. During post-COVID time, when things were still under lockdown, in a place like Hyderabad, in 5 railway stations in the central part of India, 5 railway stations, Childline had rescued 444 children. And 60% of them came from far places like Manipur, Mizoram, Arunachal, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. So those children did not come of their own. Somebody brought them. Now, who cared for them? If you ask the law enforcement agency in Telangana, they didn't know. 444 children rescued, and what do? They send them to Childline. Childline rescues and send them to Child Welfare Committee. Child Welfare Committee sends them back home, only to be re-trafficked. So this cycling of children, and nobody bothered. So now, where is the data? None of the 444 children are mentioned in any of the affairs or crimes. So the data which we talk about are completely amiss. Now, therefore, what would be required is to get the complete data on board. Everybody has got different data. So the first and foremost challenge is to get the data reconciled, get the data corrected, and then work on the data. Each data means a human being. If 444 children rescued in Hyderabad, or 587 rescued in Tamil Nadu, or equal number rescued in Kerala, the data means every data is one child. I'm talking about child only now. So every child counts. Every child counts. It is not just you move like machines. Now, that's the biggest impediment in the entire process. Number two is the willingness, the priority part. It's an age-old business. We did a study for the research for the National Human Rights Commission in 2002, 2004. Ms. Hasina was also part of that study. You know, one of the findings was that the priority is missing across the board. We tried to bring in priority at that point of time. A lot of noise with NHRC and various agencies, and government also came in, MWCD, MHA, and state governments. We made a lot of noise and things moved. In fact, the system of nodal officers was set up in 2002. I remember having set up in all the states. Then comes the implementation, and we set up anti-human trafficking units. The first 9 units we set up in the project in the UNODC. In 2020, 2 years back, Government of India decided to set it up to all the states, all the districts in the country. As per the parliamentary statement by the minister, union minister, 684 districts have got AHUs now. It's amazing work. No, setting up an institution is not is easiest thing. Is an easiest thing. Now, when we set up 9 in the UNODC project, it means not just setting up, facilitating, mentoring, hand-holding, training, orienting, capacity building, walk the talk and walk the talk. But now the numbers have gone high. Who is there to handhold or walk the talk and facilitate is missing. So that particular age, the system of is one part, but running an institution with a required manpower, it requires a lot of networking among police officers and also other partners. If a 17-year-old girl was rescued in Thrissur railway station a month back, and that girl comes from Assam, and she was beaten up and violated, exploited in Tirupur in Tamil Nadu. You know, the linkage from Thrissur, Kerala to Tirupur in Tamil Nadu to Assam, is there any linkage even now? It's not there. Investigation only, namesake here and there. So that sort of investigative link is missing across the country. Means even when we have institutions, those institutions are not linked up. So that partnership you started by talking about is completely missing in many of the places. Placing technology appropriately for preventing and combating trafficking. There comes a very big role for all of us to get together and use the technology.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Nair. Ms. Leena, would you like to add to that?
COVID was a catalyst to get more children online. And today you have India is one of the highest creators and consumers of CSAM, child sexual abuse material. And this is also the new way of cyber sex trafficking. And trafficking is totally online today. It's cyber-enabled trafficking or cyber sex trafficking. So prevention, our work in prevention is dedicatedly working on how we can educate, raise awareness, and make a society, caregivers, parents, and children aware of the of having their safety in their own hands. Because digital civic sense, and now you have digital civic sense, is going to play a really big role in combating trafficking, because the figures have gone all haywire and eschew after COVID. CSAM's on the rise, cyber sex trafficking's on the rise, cyber trafficking has taken new shapes and new forms. It's no more about rural to urban, it's no more about poor to rich. It could be totally somebody in your neighborhood who's getting trafficked right from their rooms, right from their homes, because they are online. And it's because children's behavior online, which is making them more susceptible to getting trafficked. So we are working on that. We have actually worked with governments. We've been part of 2 roundtables with the National Child Rights Protection Commission, working on how we can embed, have a school program, embed a systematic school program into curriculums, into schools, so that which encompasses not just the fear that this might happen to you, but giving the children ownership of their safety. So it's not just a fear call to fear, but it's also a call to understand the role they play on their own safety, telling them how to remain safe. It's also addressing adolescent sexuality. Because today, if we don't address these new forms of what's happening amongst adolescents, why are they making themselves vulnerable to getting trafficked? Our program addresses all those factors. We are working with the NCPCR. We are creating public statement announcements, PSAs, which can go out in public spaces. We are creating documentary films. We have a really in-depth school program to reach every child, even across the digital divide. Our work is primarily that, while Hasina and Dr. Nair are on the other front.
On the other front.
good connection here.
Great. And I just got to know that all of you have worked together as well in the past. Needless to say, we need these links to join together. So, Ms. Hasina, very quickly, I would also like to understand from you the famous impulse model, the lighthouse for us to guide us how to bring things to absolutely.
I think one of the mentor, Mr. PM Nair, supported when the impulse model got, initiated, in this small place called Shillong, Meghalaya, which that's why it was named Meghalaya model. But then as it scaled out to all the northeastern states and scale deep in terms of the replication and scale out again to Myanmar, Nepal, and Bangladesh, the impulse model stands on 12 pillars. And these 12 pillars is the legal lens, which actually brings together the private and the public partnership to enable, respond when it comes to rescue, rehabilitation, repatriation, reintegration, and also restitution. So if you're looking at the whole circle of 6 R's, it's all about stakeholders coming together, service providers coming together, ensuring that the legal justice is being delivered to all cases of human trafficking, whether children or women for that matter, or even young men and young women, as we are seeing now that, human trafficking has in fact dived so fast and so deep that it's just cut across every human being on earth when we talk about slavery. So the impulse model has basically bring how we can strengthen the anti-human trafficking unit, how this unit that has actually taken force as an initiative by the government can be supported with the service providers of organizations that are actually on the ground zero. At the same time, looking that every organization has different expertise and different mandate. But if they combine the resources, they combine the skill sets together, it enables the response to be more efficient. So that is where this 12 P's of the impulse model, which is they call the 6 P's and the 6 R's, work and emerge. And it has proved with data, it has proved with intervention and case intervention. We had the successes of different cases that no children was re-trafficked, no women was re-trafficked. The enabler that we have to also look at prevention mechanism as a long term. Of course, when you're looking at the online safety at the moment, we are emerging to look at new response to the new trends of human trafficking through the model. And that is why the core of partnership, I think Leena and myself are working in this initiative right now and trying to take shape how we can combine our skill sets, combine our experiences, combine the learning lesson so that the new generation can add value to how we intervene slavery online. Because I think the millennials today are here to use online as a way of life, but we have to make that way of life a safer place. We have to learn from the past and look at new initiative that can strengthen this whole program. And that's what impulse model stands for, the core of partnership.
That's amazing. And the core of partnership cannot be completed with the intervention of a very strong private sector as well as government sector coming together and supporting and hand-holding with this. That brings me to Ms. Namrata, if you can talk about that in this time of technology, when Ms. Hasina is talking about that every human being has got some kind of technology right now in his hands, and it is penetrating, the mobile phone is penetrating to every hand right now. Do you think there are effective ways and bettering the uses rather than and reducing these misuses of technology that can be done in a more effective way?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question, Iti. And I think definitely in this group, there are a lot of people, Leena, Hasina, Dr. Nair, who have been working on ensuring some of this happens. I think a few ideas, again, trying to draw from experience of what we do at MPL and the kind of user base that we maintain, right? So I think one is just how can we more effectively use data? Because there's so much data available. Be it the case of a person who was trafficked, trying to understand their history, trying to build that persona, trying to really backtrack those steps to understand what all are those points of vulnerability that we could really attack, right? So I think the whole data sciences, data analytics has become so much more advanced today. And we are sitting on mountains and mountains of data. How do we really bring in that data together in a way that can actually give us some insights, give us some indicators to say, where do we really need to take more actions, right? It could be about saying, yes, these certain profiles, personas in certain parts, again, I think with location services being really, really accurate, almost to the street level, how can we use all of that to really match them together and identify those hotspots that need more monitoring? How do we pass on this information to law enforcement, a bunch of other agencies, so that they can just be a lot more concerted and focused on their effort? That's number one, right? Just being able to play with the data, bring in all of those. And I think that's where technology firms can really play a very, very important role. I think second is a very, very critical point that Dr. Nair was also referring to, because technology is not just in our hands, it's also in the hands of traffickers today. And given how online every one of us is, I was actually reading a report, I don't remember the number, but a significant percentage of victims are actually contacted through digital channels, right? So how do we really look at using technology to build a safeguard against this? And there's some work that's been done within one of the labs of MIT, which is using natural language processing, artificial intelligence to really identify what sort of advertisements, commercials that are presented online are actually meant more for the victims of trafficking, and how can we really ensure some of these get pulled down before they reach a bigger number of victims, right? So how do we safeguard the population against this? Again, by using technology to create those filters to really overcome those same barriers that are being set out for us by the traffickers.
That's amazing. I mean, using of ML and AI for finding and figuring out that how to reach out to traffickers and then reducing them, that's quite something. And I'm sure, Dr. Nair, it would be great if you can also throw some light on the initiatives that government has been taking, or in your opinion, something which are key and immediate initiatives that the nation should be adopting towards prevention of human trafficking.
See, in respect of the technology-oriented matters, there are systems available today. People have the cybercrimes cell, cybercrimes website, and then you have the Twitter handle. All those are available today. But how many people are aware of this? How many students are aware of this? Many students who get caught in the web. They don't even know that's happening like this. There's an issue like this. We set up anti-human trafficking club in colleges, and at least 1,000 colleges we have set up clubs by now. And none of the clubs students knew. I'm surprised, because across the country, so many places. Then Panchayat against human trafficking, the latest one we added, empowering the Panchayats. And I was surprised, even educated state like Kerala, where people are using internet, they are not even aware as to internet can create complex problems for trafficking, and they knew what is trafficking. Well, it's very smart people in Panchayat, educated, the 24-year-old Panchayat president, a 23-year-old Panchayat mayor, the Trivandrum mayor, they say I want to get into IPS and try for IPS examination. That young lady, she's the mayor of Trivandrum. But the awareness of the technology integration in trafficking and anti-trafficking, none of them knew. Therefore, there's a need for people like you, people like in this audience, like Madam Leena, to take this mission forward, integrating technology into the field of online trafficking and cyber trafficking, where people should be made aware. This is the latest development, and it will only flourish unless we are all aware. So we can empower the youth. I think that's a very important medium. We empower the youth by giving them ideas. That youth will be our ambassadors. When I set up anti-human trafficking club in colleges, that the only mission was to empower them to make us ambassadors. Secondly, they will not become customers, code customers. That's also a hidden mission. That really worked. So I think that is a way of taking it forward. Secondly, empowering strengthening the law enforcement systems across the country. When this is happening, Kerala is the only state where they have intercepted the cyber traffickers, and the last 6 months time they arrested 69 fellows and conducted search in 165 places, all internet. And mind you, all of them are technocrats. They're all qualified people, IITians included. So why these children, youth get involved in child pornography? That's a matter to be analyzed. Why is happening like that? So from that perspective, to change their mind, to make them aware, make them sensitive, and utilize their time for betterment of the society can be a great thing we can think of. Therefore, this linkage of technology in trafficking has to be combated by better use of technology in anti-trafficking, where we all have to get together. Thank you.
Keep in mind for the audience, listeners, and those who are making points on how to go about making sure that our Earth, our India is absolutely anti-trafficking and absolutely free of trafficking. So Ms. Leena, back to you. Just wanted to understand, there is a bill which is still pending in the parliament called Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Care and Rehabilitation, which was passed in 2021. You think and your thoughts on how this bill would help us, and how would this address the issue of anti-trafficking right now in India?
The bill is actually a draft bill, and it's actually it's an improvement on the 2018 bill. What was really good for us people who are working in prevention, it talks about prevention. First time prevention was actually addressed in an anti-trafficking bill, and this continues to do that. And they have made the sentences more stricter, which is really good. And so they have put that in place. They have put in the fact that if it's a child, then it could be actually life sentence. It's a death penalty. It's a minimum 1 lakh to 30 lakhs of fine. So that's a very good sign that at least the laws are thinking of more stricter and more stringent sentences for the traffickers. But of course, the main point out here is they've made a central investigation agency, which that's something that agency has to be empowered. At the moment, it's quite lean. That's our main cry for help right now. What Hasina is saying, what Dr. Nair is saying, what we are really just now lacking, and what we really need to look at: how powerful will the NIA be? How well connected will it be? How will it traverse all these interstate problems which we are facing? How will it make sure that a child which is trafficked from Assam to Tamil Nadu, it's a seamless sent back? And even the children who were caught, the 400 children who were sent back by the CWC. So this interstate connection is really weak right now. We have to see that, because that will play really a key role in any anti-trafficking space. Beyond the fact, I'm very happy that they have put prevention as a core call, which is where we work and which is where we will work dedicatedly.
Absolutely, and hoping that this bill becomes a law and it is passed in Parliament. And Hasina, if you can talk about the rehabilitation as well of the survivors. Post the rescue comes this important mission of making sure that people who have been rescued get the right and equal economic opportunities. They are able to survive and live their livelihood ahead. You have done some tremendous work around it. Would you like to talk about it and give us your inputs around it?
So I think 32 years of my journey, starting at 17, and the emergence of Impulse NGO Network as a nonprofit, and working for 25 years on the issue of human trafficking, one common thread that gets repeated again and again: the economic situation is always the situation that makes people to migrate unsafely. And that has been the crux at every level. The economic situation has always been a force factor for family to send the children to work or to force the children to be in vulnerable situation. That has been the case all over, the last 25 years. I mean, the common thread. Now, when we saw that, and Ella Sangma, who is also one of the survivors of human trafficking, an instrument of our work. And I think from the time Mr. Nair and us used to come and train all the law enforcement, often used to tell me this common word 16 years ago when she said, if my mother had the livelihood opportunity and economic sustenance, she would have never sent me to be working outside the village. I would have never end up, in GB Road, at all, and being exploited from the age of 14. She always ring the bell. And the fact that we as an organization realize that vulnerable communities, at least in the region that I represent, the Northeast of India and Southeast Asia, has a lot of richness of traditional skill. So if we really empower the market linkages, marketable skill of these women, and we ensure that they have the power to choose not to migrate unsafely and not to send the children and young people to migrate unsafely, we are actually stopping human trafficking from the roots. And that was the birth of Impulse Social Enterprise, a hybrid model, which have seen the learning lesson. And if more and more of a replication of this model, we are always, trying to, I would address it from the source of where human trafficking takes place. And that is the prevention mechanism. That is the economic livelihood. But over and above that, while we are simultaneously responding to rescue of girls and young people and women who are trafficked, after they get rehabilitation, the fact of getting them marketable skill is an important element of rehabilitation. That is an integrated approach of the work that we try to work at multi-level, that it's time that we see that women who come out of the rehabilitation, young people who come out of the rehabilitation, has marketable skill during the period that they are there, so that when they come out, they don't get vulnerable to be re-trafficked, because that is the point of how re-trafficking cycle continue to take place. So our learning lesson was economic sustenance, economic livelihood, resilience market is a way forward. And we piloted the whole initiative and we're seeing result. I know these results will take time to really show the trends of how we can, because as long as there's a demand, there'll always be human trafficking, right? But today, looking back at the other side of the trends of human trafficking, it's just not about vulnerable people, from villages or, young people who are educated, who are middle class, using the online platform, are getting vulnerable because of different scenarios. So there is where we as people working on this space of addressing human trafficking has to be one step ahead than the trafficker, than the whole artificial intelligence that is being used to garner, to actually, get monitored vulnerability on the back end. So that is where trends keep changing. And traffickers are using these trends in tapping young people vulnerability, having low self-esteem, getting on the net. So I'm just like, while we're also having technology for good, we also are facing the challenge of technology, which is making people vulnerable and young people vulnerable. So in context to that, people in the nonprofit sector will first have to unlearn ourselves. We'll have to open up to a space to collaborate, to partner, to learn that the trends of human trafficking that used to happen 20 years ago is no longer the same trend. It's a different trends altogether. It's more technology-based. We have to partner with private institutions. I mean, we have Impulse Case Management Center, a technology platform that was initiated as a process for the anti-human trafficking unit, to actually use it as a way of case documentation, data management, responding to the services. Today, that technology that we in fact launched way back in 2012 is emerging that we need to upgrade. We need to work with many more platforms. So Meta is one that we are really working very closely at the moment, because the social media spaces is a space that is here to stay, whether we like it or we don't like it. Young people are going to use these spaces, and are going to use the app every day. So before we design any intervention, there is this passage of how do we ensure that there is a safety mechanism as we are, in this world of artificial intelligence, in the world of technology, in a world where we are connecting ourselves day in and day out. So that is where the unlearned mechanism, the learning mechanism has to go hand in hand. And I think we're so glad to have somebody like Namrata here right now, who's also in a platform which is actually gearing up young people using it. How do we use this kind of platform to work and emerge and make these spaces more safe? So I think that's the learning lesson, I think, in my 25 years of work. But we have to be open. You know, NGOs sometimes are not open. And I think Leena and Mr. Nair will agree with that. They work in isolation. They work very much in duplication of action. So it's time that we see the world a bit differently. We keep our ego behind and we combine our skill set and our leadership skills and our learning experiences to build something much more constructive in the fight against human trafficking.
And we're so glad we have NGOs like you and a trust like Missing Trust, the Missing Link Trust. It's actually an honor for me to bring all of you in the platform. And today my learning has been immense, right? From learning about how the right data needs to be consolidated, how we can have a single window and a platform for centralized voice for intervention, what are the bills, what are the initiatives that the private sector as well as the government sectors are planning to take up for anti-trafficking, to how we are empowering our youth to take up these skills. Technology definitely plays an important role, and thanks to MPL and Namrata for coming up with an amazing platform which brings that awareness and brings it to the hands of people to understand that how do we go ahead with it. Thank you so much, Leena, for your efforts that you have put in, for the work that you have put in with so much of attention towards anti-trafficking and how you have been fighting this social evil. Hasina, your groundwork, and Dr. Nair, needless to say that the kind of work that you have done, both of you, in this particular forum, it's amazing to see that people like you exist, and we are very thankful and glad that the work toward this has already begun. So this is the Rising India, and I'm sure that we are going to shine bright with absolutely no trafficking for humans, no sex trafficking happening in India shortly, if things go well and things are put in Samaritans' hands. Thank you so much for today's session. Great learning. Would you like to say the last few words and your thoughts in one single line? Would be glad to hear and close the session for today. Anyone? Namrata, would you like to start?
Dr. Nair, your side.
Okay. Dr. Nair, let's start.
Thank you so much for this good initiative. Now it's very clear. See the tremendous work Miss Leena has done, and struggling a lot. I know the struggle she went through, and the amazing work which Ms. Hasina has done in the entire Northeast. It's a classic model. She was very used only very few words. It's end-to-end project. You have prevention, prosecution, protection. Everything is incorporated into that holistic approach. Amazing work. So again, technology is part of that. So we have interesting projects today coming up. So I would suggest that if we can bring it in another larger forum, all technological innovations and initiatives in anti-trafficking, prevention or prosecution or protection, whichever it is, it will be a great opportunity for country to know, world to know that we have done. Bureau of Police Research Development, who coordinates various discussions, they have a lot of discussions going on technology in various spheres, but not this. So people like us should work together and take it into a common platform, maybe a sort of a publication, even a small booklet, technological innovations in the anti-trafficking sphere. Bring it out as a small document. Then people will start picking up, what is that new thing has come? That's the way we can take it forward. Wish you all the very best. All my support. Amazing work. We have to do a lot. Otherwise, our children are youngsters, 7-year-old, 8-year-old children are in peril now. I can understand 14, 15, 7 to 8-year children, because they're all using cell phone now. They're all using cell phone. The traffickers have made so much ingress into cell phone as much as our students have done. So on the one side, field is challenging. Trafficking is galore. I mentioned about Andhra Pradesh example, one example, child lane. And on the other side, cyber crime. So both have to work together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nair. Ms. Namrata, we would like to hear from you.
I think thank you so much for the opportunity. I think what we've started off with Missing Link Trust and Leena is great. I think this was a great conversation for me to understand the kind of work we're doing more broadly with Hasina, Dr. Nair. I think would love to ensure that we collaborate more, not just on this the missing piece that we're doing already, but I think going forward as well, more broadly on this topic. So thank you.
That'd be great. Every fifth Indian is an adolescent today. So it's really it has to be our collective dialogue has to reach out to them. And that can be really done powerfully in a very immersive, gamified way. Because no child likes to be taught anything like this. And everything, if they are taught their own safety, they're given the agency to how they have to keep themselves safe and their peers safe, and how they can become spokesperson for every missing person, and they can become the role models for others. So that will only happen by very passive learning, and that can be done in a very beautiful way through all these creative mediums. We are setting out to do a really amazing creative program, me and Hasina in the Northeast. We will share that with you, and we would love to do more with MPL. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nair, for being
Very
here.
good, very good, very good. I appreciate the initiative you are doing in the Northeast. Great. God bless. God bless. Very good. So nice.
Ms. Hasina, you would like to have the last few lines?
Well, I just wanted to say it's a wonderful platform of what we are trying to share, our own journeys of what we have done and how we have to address slavery in this country and also in our workspace at different levels. And I think looking forward to the initiative that we are taking on in the Northeast in the partnership, and of course Mr. PM Nair will be a very important part of this journey, and looking at how the National Commission for Women have also started the anti-human trafficking units. I think it's time that we have convergence. Convergence is the key, and I think technology can help that convergence in a much more efficient way as a way forward, to see that when there's a lack of resources, how resources can be addressed through technology. And the easiest way is how we can reach the younger people and the younger population. Thank you so much for having me here in this panel today.
Thank you so much, all of you. It was indeed a pleasure to host this panel discussion. And we are glad that Save Our Missing Girls, the campaign that we have been running, and the game of MPL, the missing, is something that is building so much of awareness around anti-human trafficking. We would wish that all of you be part of it as a civilian, as a part of your country. It would be absolutely amazing that you create this awareness, not just with yourself, with the younger ones also, with children, with women, and bring this usage of technology to its good use. Let's reduce the menace and let's kill the devil in the society. Looking for the best, and hope all of you will have a great day.